Okay, we're going to learn the new song again. We'll refresh our memory on that and the new ones that haven't heard it yet. Psalms 34:10. He wants to help me spy out the land of Canaan. Oh, sure. Run if you want. Then we put the fireflies
Yeah.
Oh yes, we're changing it to C and D.
Well, that's semi-better.
Yes, just read it. I'm going to start this. All the animals sing a song, sing a song, sing a song. All of the animals sing a song of praise to you. The turkey sings quack, quack, quack. The bees sing buzz, buzz. The horses sing hey. The piggy sings oink, oink, oink. All of the animals sing a song, sing a song, sing a song. All of the animals sing a song of praise to you. Cow sings the birdie sings tweet, tweet, tweet. The sheep sings baa, baa. The rooster sings cock-a-doodle-doo. All of the animals sing a song, sing a song, sing a song. All of the animals sing a song of praise to you. The turkey sings quack, quack, quack. The bees sing buzz, buzz. The horses sings neigh. The piggy sings oink, oink, oink. All of the animals sings birdie sings tweet, tweet, tweet. The sheep sings baa, baa. The rooster sings cock-a-doodle-doo. All of the animals sing a song, sing a song, sing a song. All of the animals sing a song of praise to you. All of the animals sing a song, sing a song, sing a song. All of the animals sing a song of praise to you. This here. Meow, 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 meow. Woof, 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 buzz, oink, oink, oink. Hey, boo, 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 quack, quack, quack. Sing a song of praise to you. All of the animals sing a song, sing a song, sing a song. All of the animals sing a song of praise to you. Oink, 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 oink. Sing a song of praise to you. Wasn't that fun? Let's see. Maybe we'll sing a few of the songs from the other feasts. They're just recently added on here. How about
No! We do not want to do that song.
How about set apart? It's in key of D. Set apart, for you are holy unto God. Set apart, for He has chosen you above all nations of the earth to be His special treasure. that one?
No.
You don't?
That was the theme song for last week.
Yes. Not the last one. It was.
Happily.
Okay, this is the one from the. I should just. Okay, this one. This is from last feast. You did. For y'all have not chosen to give us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Yeah. For y'all have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of a sound mind. For y'all have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of a sound mind.
Never miss a beat.
Okay,
We're walking,
I think this is the same one.
This it?
Mm-hmm. I think so. No, it is not.
Yeah.
No. Right. Is this all?
That's it.
Did we know it?
I did this with Tom because he wanted.
My mouth and my hand. And
I don't know the first.
my hand.
Do you know it?
That's a different song. That's a tune for. Maybe we'll work it up later.
Yeah. That's always just the chorus.
Is this one that my house is saying? Is that one?
And the way where sorrows are fading away, and the light shines bright as the day, walking in the King's highway. Yes, we're walking, walking, walking in the King's highway. We're walking, talking, talking in the King's highway. We're walking, walking, walking in the King's highway. We're walking in the King's highway. Here and away, where sorrow shall fade away, and the light shines bright as the day, walking in the King's highway.
He always requested this song, so I decided to look it up and put it on here, but it's not totally the same as what we usually, because
Father Abraham.
Yeah, Father Abraham.
the contentious song. These are the trials we go through.
Trials and tribulations in the valley of death.
Like, did you not like it when you were younger either?
Huh?
Did you not like this song when you were younger either?
It was very annoying, yes.
Father Abraham.
It's not coming up.
You know why they're
No,
doing
I
it?
didn't.
Because they don't like it.
We used Father Abraham to pull out the hat on talent night because he didn't get a talent. And you had to stand up and do it by yourself. That's how we used to use it. That's how much we loved it.
Philip secretly loves this song. That's why he always does this push back to get all the kids to deep.
I'll let you believe that.
Oh my goodness, it just changed. Okay, that didn't work.
Control Z.
You're,
I know, I did.
As I did make a new covenant with your secret before.
There, I got it. Okay. This is not working. Okay, so there we go.
Okay, if we do Father Abraham, we don't have to do it for the rest of the week, right?
You have to do it for the rest of the week. The rest of the year.
Alright, yeah, that will help me, because I'm not gonna use it myself. Just gonna judge. This song, we gotta get up there. Yeah? Who else wants to help with Father Abraham? Crystal, you can come help us? Okay.
Give some elbow room.
Father Abraham, had many sons. Many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise Yahweh right on. Father Abraham had many sons. Many sons
great as this one is.
I hate to hear a song that doesn't have much to say. It may be short, but it goes on and on and on and on. I hate to hear a song that doesn't have much to say.
My workout tomorrow.
Hey, Philip, I challenge you to put some of the really songs you love to full body workouts, then the kids love them just as much.
This is the way to get the wiggles out of the children, and it's coordination. And it's mind working too, so it's really good for even the older ones too, because you can remember the words, remember the order, remember how to do it coordinated, to drop your tongue in, pat your head at the same time.
Oh yeah, Michelle?
Oh, which one? Oh yeah, God can do anything. I guess we could do that one.
But Joseph had one too.
Father Abraham.
Oh, was it?
She's like, oh man.
Oh, that's just you.
Okay, this one you have to get a partner. This is the coordination one again too. You have to get a partner and you have to do the hand motion
These are the days of your servant,
scared the more.
Good.
That's probably good.
Let's do we'll do an S here.
We should get to do one of that.
Making bags and Wyatt has his picture.
Is in fact current.
giraffes.
My what?
Giraffes. They can get from 14 to 19 feet tall. They have a special heart that pumps the blood all the way up. And it's bigger on one side than the other. They have a special valve in their neck. Keeps the blood from going into the head when they're drinking. They can run up to 5 miles an hour, to 45 miles an hour. Mama giraffes have babies in the womb for 15 months. 15 months. The giraffes fall from 16 feet. 6 feet with no bone. And land on their feet sometimes. Every pattern on the giraffe is different. You can tell each one by its pattern. Only sleep for 5 to 30 minutes a day.
Okay. Another turn?
She just goes
Oh, you want to stay up there with
I decided that today I would do Proverbs 27, 1 through 8. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth. A stranger, not thine own lips. A stranger, and not thine own lips. A stone is heavy, and the sand is weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Open rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. The full soul loatheth and honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. As a bird that wandereth from her nest, so is a man that wandereth from his place.
Okay. There's a choir song next. Anyone who says, Lord, I'm thankful. Come on up.
Lately I've been through some testing and trials. Felt like a detour that went on for miles. But standing here now, looking back, I can say, Lord, I'm thankful. Some storms I thought I would never survive, but here I am feeling so strong and alive. The darkness is past and the morning is bright, and I'm thankful. Lord, I'm thankful like David after the lion, like Paul and Silas after the jail. I'm thankful like Daniel after the lions. Lord, I'm thankful. Thankful like Noah back on dry ground. Thankful like Lazarus find me unwound. Every beat of my heart wants to pound. I'm thankful, Lord, I'm thankful. I've battled giants of failure and fear, shadows of doubt when my hope is unclear. But all along, Lord, you are hovering near, and I'm thankful. All the sins in my past were a thundering roar that echoed the guilt that I could not ignore. But it's nailed to a cross, and I hear it no more, and I'm thankful. Lord, I'm thankful like David after the lion, like Paul and Silas after the jail. I'm thankful like Daniel after the lions. Lord, I'm thankful. Thankful like Noah back on dry ground. Thankful like Lazarus finally unwound. Every beat of my heart wants to pound. I'm thankful, Lord, I'm thankful. Lord, I'm thankful like David after the lion, like Paul and Silas after the jail. I'm thankful like Daniel after the lions. Lord, I'm thankful. Thankful like Noah back on dry ground. Thankful like Lazarus finally unwound. Every beat of my heart wants to pound. I'm thankful, Lord, I'm thankful. I'm thankful, Lord, I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm thankful.
All right, well, it's so wonderful to be here and hear everyone's voices lifted up in praise and thanksgiving and the joy. And I am very grateful for this time we can spend with like-minded believers and learning and fellowshipping together. And I pray that someone will be able to learn something through this. I think I definitely will. So we're going to open this time in the word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity we have to dive into your word and into your precepts and principles and your testimonies, and just really learn from you and strive to follow after you in your footsteps. and lean on you. And we pray for this time of learning, that we would that you would guide our words, and that it would be what you would have us to say. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. My Bible's starting to fall apart.
That's good news.
Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about what things we can, what tools Yahweh's given us that we can exercise, and the muscles He's given us to exercise to become stronger when we're in trials and tempted, because we always have trials, whether they're small, we're little children, we're maybe tempted not to tell the truth, or to take something that we know maybe isn't ours. It can be little things like that, and all through our lives we're going to have things, temptations. We're also going to have trials of hardship, physically hardship, hard times. Maybe we lose somebody. Maybe it's just really busy and we're just, bogged down at work. But whatever the trials are, those trials can help us to grow if we view them the right way and we actually use the tools Yahweh has given us, and sharpen those tools to help us become stronger. And then when big trials come, then you'll be able to stand. Like the 91st Psalm says, though 1,000 fall at my side and 10,000 at my right hand, it will not come nigh me. And so that's our prayer. And so we're really thinking about the armor of God that he talks about in Ephesians that he gave us. And all these things are, it talks about, it's not a war of flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, and powers of darkness. And most of the time that's interpreted that this is just a spiritual war completely. But I don't think that's what it's talking about here. I think it's talking about you're not supposed to pick up your sword and fight. This is not a physical fight. But this fight is every day here nonetheless. And it could be in a physical way. Not a physical way, but in our physical mind. In what we speak every day around us. It's interacting with the government we live in, the local laws and ordinances maybe we live in. So I'll just go through some of these. We're to have our loins girded with truth. So we know what that means. If our loins are girded with truth, then we're going to be ready, no matter what comes, to give a true answer. It's what there's a saying. What? What? Yeah, that's not the one I was looking for, but I can't think of it at the moment. It'll come to me. I should have written it down. Anyway, but we want to have our loins girded with truth, so that no matter what comes our way, we're going to be speaking the truth the breastplate of righteousness. This is to protect our heart. Breastplate usually goes over the heart. So, how do we have a clean heart, and how can we protect our heart? Well, Yeshua's given us the tools of forgiveness, of seeking Him, and denying self. Those are things that actually protect our heart. So put on the breastplate of righteousness, and put on the gospel of peace on your feet. So wherever you walk, bring peace to people, wherever you go. The shield of faith. The shield of faith is, it was talking about faith in James, right? The trying of your faith worketh endurance. So, if we can hold that shield of faith, and faith is going to be what we believe and what we know is right. And so if we can hold that shield of faith, no matter what the trials, because the trials are going to keep coming and challenging that. And as we have to hold that shield of faith, our arms will get stronger. So our mind will become stronger as we're challenged with these worldly ideas, because they come in all the time. Things that are acceptable, considered acceptable, we know is not. So we need to hold up that shield of faith so that no matter how politically incorrect it is to say what's right, we're still going to say what's right. And use the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahweh. So, use His word to sharpen one another, to sharpen ourselves, to encourage ourselves. Use His word. And the helmet of salvation. So the helmet of salvation on our head, we're renewing our mind, getting those bad thoughts out, the thoughts of unforgiveness, or maybe we aren't forgiving ourselves. That's very common today, where we maybe think down on ourselves. But who created us and who lives inside of us? So we got to remember that. Put on the helmet of salvation, cleanse our mind, renew our mind, and make it new. Was there something else? Okay. So, we're going to go into this a little bit more later, but some of you might know I kind of like to tell stories, so I'm going to tell a story. It's a Bible story, so you'll probably figure out where it is pretty quick, but I'll probably throw some stuff in there where the Bible doesn't really say, because there's some gaps where it's hard to know what happened exactly. So, anyway, I'll start that. Long ago, way back in the time of the kings, there was a young boy, and I don't really know what his name was for sure. We'll just call him Shimri. How about that? Sounds like a good name. Okay, so this is a young boy, and he lived with his parents, and they lived in a big city. The city was named Jerusalem. It was a big city of Jerusalem, okay? In the land of Judah. And at that time, there was only 2 tribes that lived in that area of Judah. Judah and Benjamin lived in that area. And the rest of the tribes, a lot of them had already got taken to Assyria. They were kind of looked down on. They didn't really help out the other tribes. But a lot of them had already been carried off into captivity, and just the poor of the land were still there, kind of trying to hang in and do something. But in Judah, everything was okay as far as sometimes they had marauders come in, but
What is waddle?
marauders are men that would come in on their horses and steal the grain and the cattle, and sometimes take people with them and ride off again. bands of men that would come in. But if they lived in a big city like Jerusalem, they'd have to worry about that. Marauders weren't too scary. But sometimes out in the country, the marauders would come with their horses and steal stuff. But in the land of Judah, no one was super happy right then because there was a king on the throne who did not obey Yahweh. He was not a good king. And he'd been on the throne for like 50 years. Can you imagine? How did a king stay on the throne for 50 years that was a bad king? Well, this king, he was really bad when he was young. But as he got a little bit older, Yahweh sent one of the kings of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were where the Babylonians came from and took this king all the way to Babylon. And the king said, "I'm so sorry, I've been a bad king." And Yahweh heard him and he brought him back to Jerusalem. And this king halfway repented. He did a little bit better at the end of his reign, but he was still a bad king. Well, this story opens, this boy, he's living in Jerusalem, and it's just towards the end of this bad king. Because he's getting really old. And so anyway, a little time goes by and this king dies. And so Shimri, he's like, oh good, maybe we'll actually get a better king, because his father had told him some stories way back. Great grandpa David, who had been a shepherd boy and served Yahweh. He was known as the man that was after Yahweh's own heart. So he used to hear stories about him. He wanted to hear anything he could, because that sounded like good times. After David, there was peace, and the kingdom was the greatest it had ever been. Right? And then Solomon came along, and things kind of went downhill after Solomon's reign. So he was excited for a better king. So they put Shimri was excited for a new king, so they put a new king on the throne. It was his son. And this king was not any better. He was worse. He was really bad. And he only reigned on the throne for 2 years. And that was because the people in the palace didn't like him very much. And they conspired and killed him. So there was kind of civil unrest, and Shimri was growing up in that. He lived in the city. He actually had, once his family had been pretty well known, but during the reign of this evil king, they had taken everything from him, from his family. And so they were the poor of the city now. They didn't have much, but they loved Yahweh still. And that's partly why the king didn't like him. Because when they saw him, they're like, hey, great uncle, what was his name? Manasseh, I think. Great uncle Manasseh. You ought to do better. And he just said, take everything they have. I'm the king. We don't want dissent. So they worked as hard as they could, but they didn't have very much. Well, after this king was killed, somebody else was put on the throne. It was a boy, 8 years old. Who's here? Who's 8 years old? Me. You're 8 years old. Can you imagine being crowned king? There was a king put on the throne. He was 8 years old. And this king, he must have had a good mother, or he had some very good counselors. Because when he was 12 years old, he'd only been on the throne for 4 years, he started tearing down the altars of Baal that had been set up, and the high places and the groves. He didn't really know what was right, but he knew that worshiping other gods was not right. So he started there, and cleaning up the land from other sins that he knew was really wrong. And so Shimri, he was beginning to learn things too, as the king did. He heard different things. Oh, he just cleaned up that high place outside of Jerusalem, and that's been in place for 80 years. But he also knew that there must be more, because a lot of the people didn't really know what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing. Yahweh's law had been hidden so long and gone so long. Well, when Shimri was about 25 years old, he heard one day that the king had ordered the temple to be cleared out and everything set up in the temple. And they had found a book in the temple. And the king was about 18 years old at this time.
How old?
18. And they brought the book to the king. And the king looked at the book and he said, "This is the book we've been missing all this time. It tells us how we should live our lives. It's the book of the law." And so they started sitting down and reading it. And the more he read it, the more he realized they didn't know what they were doing. They were trying to do what's right, but there was a lot of things they didn't even know or understand. So, the king, does anybody know who the king was? Josiah. King Josiah. Some people call him the boy king. But Manasseh was actually only like 10 or, I don't know how old he was.
Started at the age of
12. Manasseh
I
was
looked it
only,
up.
Manasseh was only like 12 years old. Is that
He
right?
reigned for 55 years.
Yeah, so he was a boy too when he became king, but he was apparently didn't have as good of counselors. So, Josiah, he's trying to do what's right, and they found a book in the temple. And so, Shimri, he heard about this, and he was very excited to go hear what was going on. And on his way to the temple, to the temple to hear what the book was read, because they were going to read it for all the people. He happened to go by one of his, I think it was distant relatives, like their fathers had been fourth cousins or something like that. Anyway, and he went by their house, and he saw this woman come out of the house. He said, "Who in the world is that?" So he ran up to meet her, and he said, "Who are you?" And then you recognized her. "I haven't seen you in like 10 years. And she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. So he said, "You want to come with me to the reading?" So they went to hear the reading at the temple together. And they heard about Yahweh's law, and they both loved it and enjoyed it, because they both had a love for the old days. The old days where it was righteous. And so it wasn't too long before they got... It wasn't too long before they got married. Yep. And they were married, and they started their own family. And they had 3 boys. Can you imagine that? Just kind of like our family, huh? 3 boys. And... Oh, really? They had 3 boys. And those boys started growing up and getting older and stronger. And one day, when Josiah was about 30 years old, he decided to set up a school in the palace for any young boys, especially those of King David's descent that were real smart. And so he started looking around in the city, and he realized that there was some families that had been pushed out that should have been treated nicer. They were of David's descent, but his grandfather Manasseh had not been very nice to them. So he offered them scholarships in the school. He said, hey, you want to come to college? Got the best of the best, and we'll teach you about Yahweh's law. How about that? Because we've been studying it for the last 8 years or so, and we're going to teach you the best we can. And I've got the best teachers there are. And so they jumped on it. All 3 of them went to the palace to learn. And they started studying and learning. Oh, I forgot to say, when they were growing up as boys, they had a lot of adventures together. And they knew a lot of other boys around the neighborhood. And not all of them had parents as they weren't as fortunate to have parents like they had. Because a lot of the parents grew up under the king Manasseh, which they didn't learn anything of Yahweh's law. And so the boys, they were often given opportunities to do things that maybe weren't the best. One time they were out in the marketplace with their friends, and they were pretty poor, they didn't have much money. And they saw a big old bunch of dates that had fallen down off a guy's table. It was sitting kind of in the front where he couldn't see. And the boys they were with, they said, hey, if one of you little chaps just crawls along under the table, he'll not see anything, and just kind of keep scooting it along as you go. Then we'll have a whole bunch of dates. And Hananiah, that was one of the boys' names, he said, no, that's not right. We shouldn't do that. So he went over and picked up the dates and gave them to the man at the table, because his parents had taught him that you don't take anything that's not yours. Especially don't sneak it, right? Yeah. Well, these boys, they didn't look much alike. Hananiah, he had a great big shock of red curly hair. And Mishael, he had like blonde hair, and it was real straight, so his mother cut it pretty short, kind of. Yeah. And Azariah, he had dark hair and bushy eyebrows. They didn't look a lot alike. But his mother, Hananiah's mother, liked his hair so much that she let it grow out pretty long, and so it was big, bushy, like about this tall, red, bushy hair. And when they went to school, there wasn't any rules about how they dressed, or well, there was about how they dressed, but not how they cut their hair, so they could have their hair however they liked. So anyway, they just kept it the same because they'd go home on weekends sometimes to visit. Well, they were at the school for another how long was it? 8 years or so, I think. And they heard about this threat coming from the land of Egypt. There was armies building, and the king of Egypt, he was getting strong, lots of chariots and lots of men. And the king of Egypt, he decided he was going to go start getting some wealth and some gold. So the king of Egypt, he brought his army, and the boys were still at school, so they weren't old enough to go out to the army. But the King Josiah, he took his army out to meet the king of Egypt. And when he went out to meet the king of Egypt, he was killed in battle. Josiah, the king. And the boys, they were really sad about this. They had been praying that Yahweh would protect Josiah. But what they didn't realize is that Yahweh was bringing a time of judgment on his land to make his people stronger and to bring them back to him. Judgment is a time of hardship, trials. So he was bringing trials on the land. So Egypt won, and they took whatever they wanted, and they killed the king. And the good king, they killed the good king.
Who did?
The Pharaoh of Egypt.
Which is the bad people?
Yeah.
I'll be the
Yep.
Oh.
Yahweh sent them.
Kind
Kind of like when he sent locusts on the green field. They're the bad things, right? But Yahweh sent them. Bring some hard times to make them stronger, right? So, a new king came to be, and he was not a good king either. So Josiah, you must not have spent enough time teaching his children, because Josiah's son, I believe it was his son after him, was not a good king. And he was on the throne for about 3 months, and he kind of had a bad mouth towards the Egyptians. And the Egyptians, they didn't like that very much. So they rode over on their chariots again, and they took the king off the throne. And they said, we're going to make your uncle king instead. So they put his uncle on the throne instead. So he's only on the throne for about 3 months. And then they took him to Egypt with them. And he got to live in Egypt. And so there was a new king on the throne. The brother of Josiah, but he wasn't much better. What's wrong with all these guys? Huh? He didn't think following Yahweh like Josiah had done was a good idea. Because after all, Josiah just got himself killed, right? In battle. So he didn't think it was the greatest idea. Meanwhile, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they were at school in the king's palace. And they were really excited. They met a cousin that was there. Well, they were studying, and he was a nice guy, and they really got on together. So the four of them, they really chummed up. They liked each other. And so,
What's the bad king teaching them?
what is the bad king teaching them?
Yeah.
The bad king is teaching them that they don't need to rely on Yahweh. They don't need to treat each other like they like themselves to be treated. They could steal from each other or take what they want. That's kind of what the kings did at that time. They took whatever they wanted to. And so this new king, he was not very nice to the Egyptians either. But the Egyptians didn't come that time. You know why?
Because they didn't like the king and they wanted to do a better king.
Nope. Because the king of Babylon heard how mighty the Egyptians were, and he came and fought the Egyptians. And he conquered the Pharaoh of Egypt. So the Pharaoh of Egypt, he couldn't come anymore. So guess who Yahweh sent to punish this bad king? No, that would have been a good plan. He sent the same king of the Babylonians that had taken Egypt. So they went and conquered Egypt, and then he sent them over to Jerusalem. Just go that way on your way back and see what you can find. So that's what they did. They rode by Jerusalem on their way back. And they were scared. The Egyptians beat us, and now the Egyptians are conquered, and this army that conquered them is coming over to knock on our door? So they didn't even try to fight. They just opened their gates and let him in. And he came, and since they were so peaceful, he decided just to take whatever he wanted to and leave. So he took some of the special gold vessels and silver vessels, and he commanded that some of the princes and wise men get taken. So they looked around and they said, oh, you know what? King Josiah, he set up a college. And all the brightest minds are in the college. We'll just take the whole college with us. So they took the whole college, all the young men and bright young men, the school. They took the whole school that got set up. And among those that were in the school were some boys that had a little rough growing up, but they loved Yahweh and doing what was right. And they stuck together because no matter what, they had chosen to do whatever Yahweh wanted them to do. They were choosing to do the hard things rather than the easy things. And the names were Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and Daniel, the cousin they met, remember? So the 4 of them, they were taken captive. But it wasn't too bad of a captivity. Because the king, he said, I want these guys to be real smart, and I'm going to teach them all the Chaldean ways. They're the Babylonians. We're going to teach them our language. We're going to teach them our wisdom. And since they're so smart, they should be able to learn everything they need to learn in, say, 3 years. That should be enough time, don't you think? 3 years should be good. You think you could learn all your schoolwork in 3 years? Well, the king of Babylon, he thought these boys were smart enough to do it and learn a new language. So he said 3 years. And just to make sure they get it done, we're going to feed them the best food you can ever imagine. We're going to feed them meat from the king's table. We'll get them some yummy pork chops and chopped pig, and we'll feed them, roasted pig and pig stew. All that fat's going to be really good and build some good brains. They're going to be super smart. We know how to do this. So he set a man over all the wise men, and so this man, he had some men under him that he divided and said, hey, you're in charge of these 4 guys, you're in charge of these, and you're going to teach them and take care of them. So there was a man that was set over the 4 boys, because they really asked to stay together. Can we stay together? He said, sure, you can stay together. Let's see, what was his name? Melzar. That's right, Melzar. So he was set over the 4 boys. You're going to be in charge. You take care of them. And so he came to them and he said, well, you guys ready for your first dinner of pork chops and pig stew? Or you could have roasted calf in blood broth or something. That would be good too. And they said, we know it's not right to eat pig. You can't eat pig or blood or things that are fatty like that are not going to be good for your brain. Some, but not that much. We have a different plan. And here's what it is. Let us just eat I think it was like lentils and vegetables and things like that. And just keep the pigs for yourself. And he said, no, we can't do that. You guys are going to get skinny on that. And you'll be so lightheaded, you won't even be able to think. There's no way, I'm not going to do that. Guess what would happen to my head if you did that? The king's not very happy if we don't take care of what we're supposed to do. He'd probably lift my head right off my shoulders. I'm not going to do that. And he said, just give us a chance. Give us 10 days. If we can get 10 days just to try it. And he said, oh, well, I guess 10 days, but you're not going to see any difference in 10 days. 10 days is enough to really even see much of anything. But if you want, 10 days. So he gave him 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, he went in to see him. And they were strong and chubby, and their cheeks were all rosy. And he asked them some questions, and they were so fast on their feet answering the questions, he couldn't even believe it. So he said, well, I don't have any idea how it's working, but it's working for you, so we're going to feed you just whatever you tell me to. So, even though it would have been a lot easier for them just to go along with the king's dainty meats, they decided that they were going to follow Yahweh a long time before that. They were going to follow him no matter what. And so they used their faith, right? So they told them, this is our faith, this is what we believe. And we won't deviate from that. So, little did they know that faith that they were exercising as young boys, and even now, when they are first taken into captivity, was going to serve them very well later on. So, 3 years went by, and these boys studied hard, and ate lots of lentils and vegetables, and got pretty strong and chubby, and smart too. And the king said, okay, 3 years is up. Bring them all before me and I'm going to examine them. So he just, you know what examining means? It's like a test. You know when you do your spell test and then somebody goes and checks it for you to see what's right? Yeah. So he's going to test them. And they were going to get tested before the king. This is kind of scary, right? Because if the king didn't like their answers very much, they were really not smart, he might just throw them to the lions or something. Who knows? Yeah. So he brought them before the king, and okay, he brought them before the king, and the king asked him questions, and he asked questions of all the young men that were in the college that went through the college. And Daniel and his 3 friends were the only ones that had chosen to serve Yahweh through the whole thing, no matter what. Even though they were in captivity, it wasn't easy. But they chose to do what was right, no matter what. And Yahweh blessed them so much that the king found them 10 times wiser than anybody else in the whole school, or the whole kingdom even. You couldn't find anybody as wise as them. They were so smart, the king couldn't even think of hard enough questions to stump them. So, everything the king asked, they answered just like lightning. So the king, he said, well, you are definitely going to be some of my wise men. So the 4 of them were given a house and told they were going to get some food, and they would be the wise men of the king. So they were set up as wise men under the king. And a little while went past, little bit of time. I don't think it was very long. And the king, all of a sudden, he was sleeping, and he woke up, and sweat was pouring down his face. And he said, oh, I just had a terrible dream.
I know this.
What was the dream? He could not remember the dream. Have you ever had that happen? Where you woke up and you were so scared from a dream, but you couldn't even remember what it was?
Yeah, not because I was scared, basically because I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was one that he couldn't remember, and it scared him so much he was sweating. And he said, get all my wise men. And he had like hundreds of them, so many wise men. Because from all over the kingdom, they would come to try and go to his school. And so it wasn't just the school they brought from Jerusalem. It was people that wanted to go to school to be next to the king and powerful. So they said, I'm pretty smart, I'll go to school. So the king, he had a lot of wise men. And he said, bring them all before me. I want to know what's going on here. So he brought all the wise men in, and he said, last night I dreamed a dream. Now tell me what it means. And they said, I think we missed something. What was the dream? We didn't quite hear it. I want you to tell me the dream and what it means. And the king said, what? And the wise men said, what? There's no mortal man on earth that can do that. Only God can do that. And well, they were saying gods. They're false gods. They thought the false gods could do that. But they couldn't do it either. They were just wood and stone. So they were just saying that to try and get the king off their own backs. Because they were kind of scared. Because they knew they could make up a dream. Like, oh, king, you were rowing down the boat in your river and you saw one of your floating palaces crash to the ground. The king would know, nope, that wasn't it. You're just making it up. You're not a wise man. Then they really get in trouble. So they were scared. What are they going to do? And they said, there's no way, we can't do this. And the king said, then what do I have wise men for? And he was mad. and he called the guard from inside and he said, "Guard, I want to have all the wise men's heads chopped off."
He had range problems.
Yeah, he was a little bit of, yeah. He was not happy because he'd been paying to get these men fed all this time, and they were worthless. They couldn't do anything for him. And so the captain of the guard said, "Well, boys, you better go home, and I'll just come to your house one at a time and drag you out. That should work." So all the wise men, they went home. They were kind of downcast. And one of the nearest houses to the palace was the one that the king had given to Daniel and his 3 friends. But all the wise men had a captain over them that told them whenever the king wanted them to come. And this captain, he didn't really like these 3 men because they were so smart. So whenever he thought something really good was going to happen, where they'd get honor from the king, he would forget to tell them. So he did it that time. He forgot to tell Daniel and Hananiah and Mishael and Azariah. He forgot to tell them anything about it. Just kind of skipped that part. Oh, I forgot. They were given Babylonian names too. Because they thought their Hebrew names were too hard. So the captain of the guard, actually the guy that was in charge of them, what's his name again? Melzar, that's right, Melzar. He's the one that gave him new names. And so when he saw him, he's like, I'll see if I can think of a name. And he saw Hananiah and he goes, I think I'll call you Shadrach because of your hair. And Mishael, he goes, I'll call you Meshach, kind of is the same sort of name. And Azariah, he couldn't think of anything till it was getting really late, so he goes, "A bed you go," because that was the only thing he could think of at the end of the day. It was getting so late.
Where did he go?
And so that's how they got their 3 names. And Daniel, he gave him a name too, but he usually called him by Daniel because it was a pretty easy name to remember. It wasn't like Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Those are kind of hard ones for the Babylonian tongue, but Daniel was a little easier. So. But he gave him a name too. It was Belteshazzar. That's an easier name than Daniel, right? So where were we at? Oh yeah. So they forgot to call him. Didn't forget. They just kind of on purpose forgot because he thought the king was going to give him something really exciting. But they all were scared now, so they just went home. Well, the captain of the guard, he came to Daniel's house and knocked on the door. And Daniel came to the door and, "Yes, what can I do?" He said, "Well, I'm here well, the king ordered that everybody's heads gets chopped off." And Daniel said, "What? Why? Why didn't I hear anything about this?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. You must not have got called. Why didn't you get called?" Daniel said, I don't know. What happened?" "Well, the king had a dream, and he can't remember his dream, and the wise men couldn't tell him what it was." And Daniel said, "Yahweh knows what that dream is. Can you go to the king and ask him for a little bit of time?" And so he said, "Yes, I like you, and I was really dreading coming here. So I'm glad you said that. I'll go and ask for some time." So he went to the king and he said, "King, there's one of your wise men and he forgot to get called and he's asking for some time." And the king, he had cooled down a little bit by then. He goes, "Well, all right, I'll give him a little bit of time." So the captain went back and he said, "All right, Daniel, you got some time. You got a few days if you need it, or a little bit of time." And so Daniel went to his 3 men and he said, "Everyone fast and pray, because I know that Yahweh will reveal things to us if we bring trials on ourselves, or if we're in a time of trial. And there's no greater time of trial than this. So pray that Yahweh will reveal what the dream was." fast. And so they did that. They fasted and prayed. And that wasn't the first time they'd done that. They'd done that a lot of times before. They fasted and prayed to Yahweh. And suddenly, Daniel had the dream. And he said, oh, praise Yahweh. He's given us the dream. He's answered our prayer. So he went before the king and he told the king about his dream. And he said, oh, king. Oh, he came before the king and the king said, are you the man that can answer my dreams? I heard there was maybe one of my wise men that can answer my dreams. And he said, nope. But Yahweh can. And he's given the dream to me, so I'll tell it to you. And he gave the dream to you on purpose to tell you what was happening later on. And so then he told the king about his dream. He said, there's a great image, and its head was gold. Yep.
I know this part.
Yeah?
Yeah, me too.
What was the rest of the image?
Well, it was gonna say sinful. I'm pretty sure it said that they were gonna run out of food for the winter and money. And then they told the king about that dream.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Pharaoh's dream. That was a little bit earlier, a few hundred years before that. But that is good. That is one of the dreams. And Joseph's the one that interpreted this one. That one. But this one, Daniel's coming before the king. And it's a little different dream. There was a great image, so tall. And its head was gold. And its arms and chest, I think, was silver, maybe? And its belly was brass. And its thighs and legs were iron. Iron's like swords, really strong. And its feet, it was part iron and part clay mixed together. And while the king was looking on this great image, thinking how beautiful it was, he suddenly saw off in the mountain a little stone get cut out of the mountain. And he didn't see any hands do it. It just got cut out without invisible. And this stone, it rolled and became bigger and bigger, and it struck the image on the feet. There were clay and iron. And when it struck it on the feet, it knocked the image over and it ground it all up to fine powder, and the wind blew it away. And the stone grew and grew and grew until it covered the whole earth. And the king said, that was the dream that scared me so much. How did you know? And he said, Yahweh revealed it to me also. And here's what he's telling you. In the later days, something's going to happen. There's going to be kingdoms that come up after you. And you, O king, are the head of gold, the great big head of gold. Then there'll be a lesser kingdom come after you, and there'll be a kingdom of brass come after them, and then a kingdom that's strong as iron and crushing everybody. And then after them, there'll be a kingdom that's partly strong and partly weak, because clay is really weak. You throw it on the ground, it just shatters. But Yahweh will set up a kingdom that will grow to fill the whole earth. And so the king... Yeah, exactly. So the king, he was like, wow, that's pretty crazy that's going to happen. And so after that he said, Daniel and the 3 friends of Daniel, you are very smart men. I'm going to set you up as rulers. So he set them up as rulers in the kingdom. Well, the 3 men I think he set up as rulers. I'm not sure.
That just sounds so much like the one that I was telling you about.
Oh yeah?
What is rulers?
Rulers, they helped take care of everything in the kingdom. They rode around to the cities and made sure the governors of the cities were doing their job, and helped out if there was a problem, telling them what they should and shouldn't do. Because the king didn't want to be busy all day and all night trying to take care of every little thing. So it's only if something really big came up they had to take care of. He'd rather be walking around in the air in his hanging gardens in Babylon. You know they had hanging gardens? How do you think they did that?
What are hanging gardens?
there were great big gardens of growing things hanging in the courtyard and palace of the king in Babylon.
Like hanging from the air.
Must have been, I don't know. I don't know what they look like exactly, but it sounded pretty cool. And the king, Nebuchadnezzar, he liked to walk around and spend time there rather than taking care of his kingdom. So he set rulers over. And anyway, he didn't have much time on his, he had a lot of time. I mean, the king had a lot of time on his hands. And it wasn't always a good thing. He started thinking about what he could do to let the whole world know how great of a king he was. And one day, he was thinking about it and he goes, oh yes, I remember that dream. What if I got all the gold, because I've got mounds of gold all over the place. What if I just take all that gold and make it into a great big image that's actually going to be me, because remember, I'm the head of gold. And I'll make it like 70 feet tall. That would be a pretty big image. So he got his workmen going on it right away. And they built and built and melted gold and built this whole image out of solid gold. Can you imagine that much gold? That'd be a heavy, heavy image. 70 feet tall. It took them a while, but they built it.
Probably like 100 years.
Not that long. Probably took him a couple months because he had a lot of people working on it and a lot of gold. And so they built this huge image and they put it up in a plain in a great big open flat place. And the king said, wow, now I just need to show it off. What am I going to do to show it off? So he decided to send a proclamation through all the lands and tell all the rulers of all the provinces in all the land to come to see his magnificent image that he had made. And then they could go back and tell everybody out how great the king was, and he'd be king forever without anybody worrying about not paying their taxes or anything like that, because look at how great of a king he was to build such a huge image. So he sent through all the land and gathered thousands and thousands of men, all the rulers of the provinces. So these weren't just the farmers, these were like the mayors, the governors of the city, the state senators, or whoever they had back then. All over, all these men came, and when they saw this image, they said, "Whoa, that is a tall image." And the three rulers, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, remember them?
Yeah.
They were rulers too, so they got a message to come as well. So everybody came.
Except Daniel, he didn't.
Yeah, Daniel. I think he was still maybe just a wise man. He was wise enough to stay away. But Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they were there. And the king, he got everybody gathered up, and then he said to his musicians, he had harp players and guitar players and trumpet players and flute players and I don't know what else. Psaltery players. Maybe old cow horn player, I don't know. And all those players of music. Yeah. I'm not even sure what it looks like. So, he said, whenever you hear the music, that everybody's going to bow down to the king. To the image, not to the king, but is representing the king, right? But they're going to bow down to the image. So he proclaims it far and wide to the whole people all through the big plain where he has everybody gathered. When you hear the music, then bow down. So he started playing the music and everybody bowed down. But one guy, when he was bowing down, he kind of peeked out the side of his... Well, he was down on the ground like this. And he looked over and, there was 3 men standing straight and tall. They weren't bowing down, but nobody else had seen them because everybody else was bowing down. And the king, he happened to be looking a different way. So when the music stopped, everybody stood up, and the king, he was so happy. Big smile on his face. Look at all those people just bowing down to my image. And this man comes up, one of his rulers comes up to him, and he's like, "Oh, king, I have something I want to say." And he goes, "Well, what is it?" When the music played, there was 3 men that didn't bow down. And the king, he turned purple. He was not happy. And he said, "What? Bring those men before me. How dare they? I'll show them. Anyone that doesn't bow down is going to get thrown into the fiery furnace." Oh, I forgot he did tell everybody that before, the first time. And so he brought the 3 men came before him, and he said, "Maybe you didn't hear me the first time. You need to bow down whenever the music starts." "Oh, you're the wise man." "Oh, yes. Well, I don't care who you are. When you hear the music start, you bow down to my image. And if you don't, I'm going to throw you in the fiery furnace." And Hananiah said, I don't remember what he said, huh? "Oh, king, we're not even going to worry about what we say to you. We're not going to be careful about how we say this to you. But no matter what you say, we will not bow down to your image. And the God we serve, he is able to deliver us from the fire. But if he doesn't choose to deliver us from the fire, know this, that we will not bow down no matter what." Because they had chosen to serve Yahweh no matter what, right? When they were just little boys. They said, even if Yahweh chooses to burn us up in the fire, or let us burn in the fiery furnace, we will not bow down to your image, but we'll die here today. And the king, he turned a deeper shade of purple. He was so mad. He told his fire feeders, "Build that fire 7 times hotter. Make it really burning." So they chucked more and more fire in, and he called his guards up and said, "Guards, arrest these 3 men." So they tied them up really tight with ropes. And they took his bravest and strongest and tallest men, and they carried the 3 Hebrew boys. They carried them to the furnace when it was super hot, and they chucked them in. And when they threw them into the furnace, they didn't have a shield in front of them anymore, and the fire came out and burned up the mighty men that threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the fire. And the king said, "Well, there's no hope for them. That's the end of them. What do I see in the fire? There's somebody walking around. There's 4 people walking around in there. And the 4th looks like the Son of God." How do you think he knew what the Son of God looked like? Maybe it looked like an angel? I don't know. And he was pretty surprised. And he called them out. "Hey, toaster boys, come on out." So out they came. And when they came out, their ropes had all burned off. But not their clothes. Their clothes did not even smell like smoke. There was no singe on them, nothing. Yahweh had chosen to protect them, right? To make his name known. And so the king, he changed his proclamation right then and there, and he made a proclamation that everyone should know and serve the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because he was the true God. So, that's a little story. And what I want to try and bring out is that their faithfulness was all through their lives. It started with little things. And it doesn't really talk about that as boys, but we know that whenever they were tested, whenever they were first taken captive and tested, they chose to serve Yahweh and to stay true to his principles no matter what, even though there was a lot of peer pressure and other pressure the other direction. So we know as boys they had to exercise that. And build in strength over time, and use those tools that Yahweh gave them, like their faith, their shield of faith, and they remembered the words that Josiah had taught from the temple and in the school of Yahweh. So they were using the sword of the Spirit, right? And yeah, they were using all. Oh yeah. So anyway, that's the end of my story. It's a little bit longer winded than I thought it was going to be. But I think if we do the little things in life, if we choose to exercise ourselves through the little things, then we'll be ready when the big challenges actually come. And there's no way that Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah could have stood before the king that boldly unless they had exercised that earlier on in their life and it resolved within themselves that they would choose to follow Yahweh no matter what. Okay, so we're gonna do a little demonstration for fun. Yep.
Choose one, give one to that. Okay, which shield do you want?
Does he know what he's doing?
No, you have to explain it. You can explain it through the mic so everybody gets it.
Okay. So,
Go up there in front so everybody can see.
what we're going to show is that if you exercise and use the shield, then your arm will become stronger. But you also have to use the other tools that Yahweh has given you, because eventually, you're going to get tired holding that shield. But the more often you do it, the more your arm will get stronger. But we have to conquer the things that we're using a shield against. So remember to use the sword of the Spirit to conquer, and the shield of faith to protect us. So when things fly at us,
We use the shield of faith.
we want to have the shield of faith, which is we want to be able to answer them with our words, right? We want to be able to stand for what's right. So we want to be able to make the right action in the moment. That's relying on your faith, your shield of faith. But then, if that keeps coming at you, make sure you can go to the sword of the Spirit, which is explain why you believe that and why it's important. So go to Yahweh's principles and His law, and show them this is why we believe this is right. Show them out of the Scripture. So if you're just using the shield of faith, you can get worn down, and but the more you use it, the stronger you will become as well. So it's kind of like if you get tempted to tell a little lie about something, for instance, and you know that you're not going to because it's just going to hurt you a little bit. Say you took an apple out of the box and you weren't supposed to, or you cut a little slice out of the pie and your mom had told you not to. And she said, "Who cut the slice out of the pie?" And there's no way of anybody knowing. So you just say, I don't know. I think the neighbor boy might have taken a little slice.
Or you might not say anything at all.
Or you just might be quiet and not say anything. Well, next, it gets harder to stand next time because you let that shield drop down right away, right? You couldn't hold it up at all, you just let it drop. So if you instead you say, Mom, it was me, I should not have done that. My tummy was just so hungry, I didn't think about it and I just took a slice of pie. Then you're holding up that shield, right? And next time, when your mom says, who left their shoes laying right in the hallway, I almost tripped on them, it's going to be easy for you to say, I did, Mom, I'm sorry, I'll pick them up, instead of being quiet about it, or maybe saying, I think my sister drug them out on the hallway and left them there. But the more you stand up for what's right, the easier it will become because that muscle gets stronger and stronger. Okay, so we're going to do a little demonstration here. Ready? Okay, you're gonna hit.
I'm gonna hit your shield and go like that.
Yeah, you wait. Put your sword down. And you hold your shield up. Whoa. There you go.
He's giving you blows. Are you going to use your shield, Daddy?
See? It's a lot easier to conquer when you use your sword too, right? Okay.
Good job, Kurt. I think you won.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's already gone pretty long, so I'm going to do a short and sweet. Really quick, I wanted to talk about the armor in a mental sense. So, hang on. Okay. Honey, do you want to read Ephesians really quick, just those few verses? It won't take too long. There you go. Okay. Okay.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand.
So I just wanted to. The part where it talks about we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, rulers of the darkness of this world, and spiritual darkness in high places. Now, I tried to dive into the high places because I was curious. Is it talking about government? Is it talking about high places, mountaintops? I don't know. What do you guys think of when you think high places? Because as Zeph was talking about with the shield of faith, those are things that come at us personally in our life, maybe mentally, maybe spiritually. It's kind of all the above. And so I was kind of curious what the high places meant, what the spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, where I went was my mind. So whether you think this is what this verse means or not, it's up to you. But I wanted to talk about the armor in a mental sense. So the first one, can you flip? Thanks. First one is having our loins girded about with truth. Okay, so in our minds, there's a battle, at least there has been for me from time to time. We are to be girded with truth. So what things are you maybe thinking or saying to yourself in your mind? Maybe, I'm not strong enough to lift that pumpkin, or I'm not brave enough to run a 5K, or I am not skilled enough to play the piano in front of the whole room. Like,
I think a common one is I'm alone in this. I'm the only one that's experienced this. I'm alone.
yeah, I'm so weak, and it would be even weaker for me to go and ask for help because, I'm supposed to be strong in the Lord. So, anyway, if you notice, those are not truth. Those are lies that you're believing. And so, what I think that should be done in that case is look and see what God says about me instead of what I think about myself. And maybe why I'm thinking those is because I'm listening to influences I shouldn't. Okay, so God tells us that we are loved, we are made in His image, we are treasured, we are His sons and daughters, and the other things God says we are that you can think of. Do you see this rock? Does it look special?
It's an old rock.
Does it look normal? What's special about it? What can you tell from here? There's a little shininess. It attracts you if you look closely. I'll pass this around after so you can look at it closer. But there's a few sparkles on the outside. There's also some gravel. There's also some dirt. Okay. Does it look special?
Well, there had crystals inside, yes?
Whoa. Okay, this is just a little example of what I'm talking about. So, this is you on the inside, and this is, yes, thank you. That's what I was going to move into. Do you want to hold it and pass it around or whatever? So this is a geode, if I'm correct, and they are just found on the ground, and you crack them open, and they're gorgeous inside, and they're sparkly, and they're beautiful. So, I actually woke up this morning with a thought of a diamond. A diamond on the outside looks kind of like a regular rock. I've actually never seen a raw diamond, but that's what I've been told. Now, I asked around in this group and said, does anybody have just a regular old diamond that I could show to everybody today?
Sure, in the backyard.
I said, if you can't find a diamond, well, a geode would work just fine. So Peter went all the way home and got that for me. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that out as that's how God views you, as treasured and perfect and made in His image. So think about that when you're thinking of putting on the armor of truth in your mind. Okay, the next one is righteousness. We're to have the breastplate of righteousness. Now for me, the easiest way to be righteous is to put on the mind of Christ. So that is the beautiful insight that you're seeing in that geode. One command we were given about putting on the mind of Christ is to take every thought captive. Now, I believe those are thoughts of our selfishness or temptations, trials, I don't know what it is. But we're to take those thoughts captive, throw them away, don't want to see them again, and put on the mind of Christ. Greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. Okay, next armor is gospel of peace. Does anyone know where the gospel of peace goes in your armor? Feet, yes. feet. So to me, the gospel of peace means action. It means movement. We're not called to sit and just be. So I don't want to take time to dive into everyone super deeply, but just think about the gospel of peace meaning action, move, do something good. Faith, Zeph and I went into faith in depth. The Hebrew boys were tested in their faith. They were tested again and again, and their faith was what they used as their shield of protection. And others saw that and believed, along with the sword of the Spirit as well. The next one on the list is the helmet of salvation. I was thinking about this, and Christ's salvation, I guess the first thing I think of when I hear that is Christ's sacrifice for us. Also his life for us. He didn't just die for us, he lived for us. So his life, his death, so through his teaching and through his gift, if we choose to receive his salvation, I know this goes on multiple levels, salvation from my selfish desires, from my sins, and ask forgiveness. We could dive into the after-death part, but I wasn't planning to. Anyway, what I found curious about this is the salvation goes on your head. It's a helmet of salvation. And again, to me, that points to the mind. So, again, putting on the mind of Christ, putting on his salvation on your head, that means you're not living in a selfish mindset. You're living in a productive, free. You're just free because you're letting him live through you. The next one on the list and the last one is called the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. A couple things came to mind. Faith comes through hearing, and hearing by the word of God. I don't know where that's found, but it is a verse. So the word of God is our sword. That's how we fight. That's how we seek. We don't take a sword out of our scabbard and go and kill a whole bunch of people to save something. I don't know where I'm going with that. But like Zeph and I was saying, they use that. The Hebrew boys said to the king, "We won't bow down to you. No matter what you say, we won't do it." That was their sword at that moment in time, and they used it. And they were found faithful, and they survived, and they brought a lot of people to Christ's freedom. One other thing I wanted to say was, when dealing with mental attacks, maybe arrows, there's later on in this chapter it says fiery darts. So think of those thoughts as fiery darts entering your mind. Don't let them enter. Just squelch them, stop them, don't let them have any footing. They're gone. And what you might find is there's an empty space there, so replace it with something, which is the words of God, in my opinion. It was just, this is pretty much all I had. The end is just a couple of thoughts to end with, and that is, greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. Just let that soak in. The last thing I wanted to say was, he asks us to put on the armor. He doesn't say, "Oh, come here, I'll put the armor on for you. Let me get you fit perfectly." No, it says you put on the armor for yourself and then go, and you're equipped. So that's what I had. Back to you. Here we go.
That's about it. We're just going to wrap it up. We're just going to read a couple scriptures. We had already just read them, but above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So, kind of like I was talking before, the three Hebrew boys, they were able to quench the fiery darts of the wicked, right? That fire didn't touch them. It's the same in all our lives. the shield of faith is what protects us from all the different things that are coming at us quickly. It's how we respond to what's coming at us. So it's what we believe deep down. And then verse 13. Wherefore, taking unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. So we're not called to give up, or we're not given too much where we can't handle it. We've been given the tools, and so if we put on the armor, then in the evil day, stand, and in the end, we'll be able to stand, and we'll be still standing for truth, for Yahweh, for what we know is right. So, yeah, keep exercising and using the tools Yahweh's given you. That's all we had. If there's any other thoughts or anything, that's good. I know it's been kind of long. I think already. I don't know. Actually, anyway, yeah, that's what was on our hearts and what we had for today. All right, we'll close this time in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this this wonderful feast time that we can all come together and fellowship and interact with one another and just learn more about you, sharpen one another. We just pray for a wonderful remainder of the feast times together and good fellowship. And we also pray that the sickies that's going around would everyone would recover from that, and they would go away, and we would be given health and strength fully. And we just thank you for the beautiful, beautiful sunshine you bless us with. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
I'm so curious. Oh, it's so yummy. Oh, it's spicy? Oh, no wonder. But she kept wanting it when she got it. Okay. Big dinner. I guess we're